What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. It has been an exciting Memorial Day weekend here at the Outpost. I hope you all had a good Memorial Day. I know I had a great Memorial Day. Why? Simply because Tom Cruise has decided to grace us back on the silver screen with his most amazing project yet. It is one of his best movies in a long time. It is one of the best movies to have a theatrical release in a long time. We're talking Top Gun Maverick. It is now in theaters today. It has been crushing Memorial Day weekend. It has been a hell of a ride. It is one of the best sequels, one of the best Tom Cruise movies, the best. It's all you're hearing all weekend. It is the best. And it absolutely is. And if you haven't seen it yet, you need to get your ass out to the theater and check it out now. That is a movie that needs to be seen on the biggest screen that it possibly can. It is the first movie in a long time that I've seen that I will actually be going back to the theater for to see multiple times. I don't ever do that for movies. So for me to want to go back and see a movie again in theaters is a huge deal. I don't do that for a lot of movies. I've done it for Tom Cruise movies before. I saw War of the Worlds in theaters 3 times when it came out. I'm trying to think of other movies, but it's hard to because I don't do it very often. So you would think you would remember the ones that you do it for, but nope. But this is the first one in a very long time. It has to be almost 10 years that I'm going to see a movie more than once in theaters. So I am super excited. And I thought in today's adventure, it would be a great idea to run down the absolute legend himself, Tom Cruise, and rank up all of his movies. He is one of the few actors that I have seen pretty much every major motion picture that he has made. The only ones that I haven't seen are ones that he has small supporting roles in from back when he was first getting started. But from once he hit the big screen and the big time with Risky Business onwards, I have seen the majority of this man's work. He is tied with Tom Hanks as my favorite actor of all time, so I can think of nothing funner to do today than to rank the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tom Cruise. Now, this man has been in a hell of a lot of movies. I didn't realize how many movies until I started pulling them out of my collection. So I'm going to try to not spend a lot of time on each movies. We will on the later movies that are really good, but at the bottom of the pile, we're going to try and just glide right through it. And we're going to start with my least favorite Tom Cruise movie, and that is Lions for Lambs. This movie, it's just boring. It's not very good. It was definitely him trying to do something different, or doing a more dramatic role that he was trying to do a lot in the 90s and the 2000s. And I think it's a good Tom Cruise performance. I just don't think it's a good movie. And then up next after that is Rock of Ages. Now, Lions for Lambs is the only one of these movies that I think is outright terrible. The rest of these movies all have redeeming qualities to this. While this is not a movie that I would say is good by any means, it is entertaining. I did find myself cracking a smile and enjoying this movie from time to time, and a large portion of that is thanks to Tom Cruise playing a wildly over-the-top frontman who pals around with a monkey called Hey-Man. He is definitely one of the funner parts of this movie. Up next after that was Tom Cruise trying to get the dark universe off the ground in The Mummy. Now this is a movie, it tried. I give it points for that. It tried. Tom Cruise is great in it. What he goes through to do some stunt work in that, when to really put some asses in the seat for it, is good. I think where this movie fails is at a mechanical level. It's at the script level. It just tried to do too much too soon and tried to build right into creating a universe and just fucking crashed on the runway. Crashed before it could even take off. It didn't even wait to build up some speed. It just tried to fucking fling right off of there. And I think that definitely hurt this movie. After that's a classic. This is Cocktail. This is such a silly fucking movie, but I love it. I have such a soft spot for this movie. It is super entertaining. Definitely falls towards the bottom of the Tom Cruise ones just because he's got so much good stuff. So this is what I'm talking about now, where it's like we're going to get, even though these movies are towards the bottom, I still really like them. I love Cocktail. I think it is a super fun movie. It's not like a great movie, but it's one of those, like, it's a great run in a long line of just like fun 80s movies that Tom Cruise was making. That is the Jack Reacher sequel, Jack Reacher Never Go Back. This is another one. It's perfectly fine. I think my biggest problem with this that made it so low was that I've read a bunch of the Jack Reacher books, and of course after reading the book that this one is based on, it just like pales in comparison with how much they cut out of it and changed story wise. That it was really tough to sink my teeth into it. But Tom Cruise kicks ass as always. What's her name? Kobe Smulders. Sorry, Kobe. You're a goddess. You're fucking great in it as well. It's a fine, serviceable action movie. We have Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman trying to do Irish accents, Far and Away. I don't hate this movie. I watched this in film school, not in film school, in high school, in a film class. And I enjoyed it. It was a solid Ron Howard movie. Are the accents amazing? No, but they're tough to do. So I give them credit for at least trying. And it's an entertaining movie. I could watch it anytime it's on. It's definitely very different from Tom Cruise movies that you would see today. Like I couldn't imagine today a movie like Far and Away coming out with starring him in it. I just couldn't see it. So thank you 90s Tom Cruise for giving us something like this. You are not an actor unless you've made a sports movie. And we've got all the right moves right here. This is a just super entertaining little sports movie right here. Young Tom Cruise vehicle. Look how young he looks in that fucking picture right there. It's a solid movie. It's fine. I enjoy it. Probably one of the weirdest Tom Cruise movies, a movie that it just seems so out of left field for him, and that is Legend. This is a wild movie about him in a fantasy land trying to save this princess from this fucking crazy ass devil demon played by Tim Curry. This is a wild fucking movie. It is out there, directed by Ridley Scott. It's just a movie that like everyone involved in, I just don't see in it, with the exception of Tim Curry. He looks right at home. So that's a very interesting movie if you haven't seen it. Another super interesting movie, Interview with the Vampire. This was in the 90s stretch where Tom Cruise was just trying to do something different with every movie. And you got to give him the respect for that, to always be trying to do something different. I am not the biggest fan of this movie. I do enjoy it, but it's never been one of my ones all the way at the top. It's always just fell squarely in the middle of the Tom Cruise vehicles. But it's got some good performances. Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas, Slater, Kirsten Dunst, everyone in it's really good. It's got a star-studded cast for the 90s too. And then finishing off this first pile that I grabbed is The Outsiders. This is such a fucking great movie. I love this movie. It's super entertaining. It's super silly. I'm channeling my Emilio Estevez right now with my Mickey Mouse shirt. But this movie cracks me up. I love when they go for the rumble and you just see Tom Cruise run outside, jump onto a car and just do a backflip off of it. I think it's like the funniest thing ever. He doesn't have much to do in this movie, but just like the group dynamic of all of them like really sells it. And I think this was a great early vehicle for Tom Cruise. Chugging along in the next pile. After that is the first of the Mission Impossible movies to drop here on this list, and it is probably everybody's least favorite Mission Impossible movie. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's Mission Impossible 2. I actually think this movie is super entertaining. I think it is a lot better than it gets credit for. I think this one gets shit on as the ugly stepchild and the worst of the bunch. It is the worst of the bunch, but I don't think that necessarily makes it a bad movie. This movie is super fun. It followed along with Tom Cruise wanting to do something different with each Mission Impossible movie. And when you hire John Woo for an action movie, you're going to get a John Woo action movie. And that's what this is. It's just Mission Impossible if it was directed by John Woo. And I think that's super fun, especially for the 2000s when you were trying to figure out what this franchise was going to be. And they were like, you know what? Let's just try some shit, see what happens. This was a great idea, I think. I think the ending fight scene with the motorcycles and all that, it's fucking hilarious. I love it. After that is Vanilla Sky, the first of our Tom Cruise, Cameron Crowe group productions here. I actually haven't seen this movie in a long time. I have to rewatch this. It's been a hot minute. I don't remember being the biggest fan of it, but I remember it being a neat little psychological thriller that it always just kind of ended in the middle. It's like Interview with the Vampire. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's just right there, middle of the line cruise. And like middle of the line cruise is better than most other actors you're getting. So this is a pretty entertaining movie if you haven't seen it. After that's a movie I saw in theaters with my dad. This was Oblivion. This was a string of like in the early 2010s of Tom Cruise, where he's just, you know, figuring out what he's going to do in this late stage of his career and how his career is going to take shape. I think this is actually a pretty neat science fiction movie. I think that's a genre that he really excels in, is science fiction and action. I think those two blend very well for him. And this is just a good example of just like a well-made movie. And I think it's made by the director who did Top Gun Maverick. Yes, it is Joseph Kosinski. So obviously this was a match made in heaven, that those two would come together here and then go on to give us the absolute fucking majesty that was Top Gun Maverick. So if this movie helped lead to that movie, aces. After that is another fucking great movie I saw in theaters with my dad, and that was Jack Reacher. The first Jack Reacher is actually a really great fucking movie. I think the opening sets the stage for just what is a fucking fun ride for a time. It's like the perfect just action thriller for Tom Cruise. That opening scene alone is fucking wild. If you haven't seen this movie, give it a shot. I know some people were on the fence because they were like, yeah, he's not like the Jack Reacher from the book. Get over it. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. If you want that, you also have the TV show, where it's the fucking brick house of Jack Reacher. But this never bothered me, because I think Tom Cruise had the fucking gravitas to pull off Jack Reacher. So I'm okay with them having changed that for the movies. It didn't bother me. And also, like, if you're going to want to make a movie based on something and someone's like, Tom Cruise is interested, you're not going to be like, nah. Like, you're going to take Tom Cruise, obviously. After that is actually a neat little Tom Cruise movie that I didn't see until it came out on DVD, and I was like kicking myself that I didn't know about this one sooner, because it's such a fun movie, and that's Night and Day. This is a fun action comedy. Tom Cruise really is just fucking hilarious in this movie. Cameron Diaz is really good in it. It's directed by James Mangold, who did Logan, who did Ford v Ferrari, just fucking stellar fucking director. And this is such a fun fucking just action comedy to just kick back, turn your brain off, and just enjoy for like 2 hours. It is fucking so much better than I thought it was going to be, and I really fucking liked it. Another movie I haven't seen in a long time that I need to revisit, but I fucking loved it when I saw it in theaters, and that was Valkyrie. Obviously still got the old DVD right here. I don't even think if they have like a 4K or Blu-ray for this bad boy yet. Hopefully one day. Come on, give it. We need all the Tom Cruise. Do everything. This is a fun fucking war movie. This was really good. This is a tense little thriller. Who did this? I think it was made by that creep. Yep, Bryan Singer. That creep Bryan Singer. But we've got Christopher McQuarrie writing. So if this is where the two of them started to link up and create their friendship and dynamic working together, then aces again, because we've all seen what they've done. We're going to get into what they've done later, because they're a fucking match made in heaven. And then last in this pile is another great, like late 2010s Tom Cruise, just always fired. He never missed. 2010s was a great fucking decade to this man. And that is American Made. I really fucking like this movie. This is a great, like, fun drama movie in the vein of Blow. Tom Cruise is, I think he's doing very well in these later movies where he plays kind of a douchebag, but he's like just got this heart of gold, and he's so charismatic that like you're still like on board with him and you're following him along on his journey. Because this is one of those movies, and this is a great fucking movie. He is like a drug mule for people, flying drugs back and forth, and just follows his journey like that. It is a super entertaining movie. I've actually only saw it the one time in theaters. I need to revisit that movie too, because I would love to watch that movie. Up next, surprisingly, is the one movie I don't have. I don't know how I didn't have it. I could have sworn I did have it, but it must have gotten fucking lost or misplaced or something at one point. But it is Tropic Thunder, a movie that Tom Cruise goes 110% in on. He is one of, in a movie that is stacked full of so many like genius comedic actors. It's amazing that he is able to carve off and like practically steal the show of this movie, playing such a funny performance as some douchebag fucking studio executive. He is so good in it. I fucking love that movie. I could watch that movie all the time just for Tom Cruise's mannerisms in it. It just cracks me the fuck up. Up next is Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. This is a really good fucking movie. It's not a movie I would watch often. I've watched it maybe twice in my life. and I don't see myself revisiting it too many times. It's really good, but it's like a slog. I think the best portion of this movie is when he goes to that fucking really creepy party, and he tries to like sneak his way in and see what's going on. It is a wild fucking exploration into fucking like sexual drive in this relationship. It is a very bizarre movie, but it is really fucking fantastic. And it's another one. This was back when Cruise was just doing something different with every movie. Like, could you imagine Cruise doing a movie like Eyes Wide Shut today? Like, I couldn't. The 90s, man, wild Tom Cruise time. Back into the 80s for some fun Tom Cruise, and that's The Color of Money. It's the sequel to The Hustler. Funny enough, I have never seen The Hustler, but I have seen the sequel, Color of Money. And this is a fucking fantastic movie. This is so much fun. It's a great movie about pool hustling, and Tom Cruise plays such a good young hotshot in it. This is great young Tom Cruise. I feel like he's been separated into like 3 journeys. There's like, or actually maybe like 4, because you have young 80s hotshot Tom Cruise, where he's just making fun movies. 90s Tom Cruise, where he's just trying everything. He's doing something different in every movie, really showing off his chops. Then we've got the mid-2000s, where he's still ripping these great fucking sci-fi action movies, but he's taking kind of a hit with the whole jumping on the couch Oprah thing, and some of his personal stuff is really like affecting how people view him. And then now you've got this like 2010s where he's just hitting this fucking stride again, where he's just perfected this like mix of fucking great explosive action fun adventure movies with these amazing practical effects. It's been such a fucking journey for that man. I love to see it. Our next Mission Impossible movie drops here with the original Mission Impossible. That's a fun movie. It's probably the most tame out of all of them. This is more like an espionage thriller than it is like the crazy ass action fucking thrillers that they become later on. This is so watered down compared to the rest of them, but it's still a lot of fun. I think when they break into this, is it the CIA's vault, I think, or something like that, when he does the fucking absolute iconic like hanging from the tripwire. So there's so many great moments in this. I think everybody that really comes into it's a lot of fun. This is a really fun movie. And then right after that, another Mission Impossible movie. It's Mission Impossible 3. I know a lot of people are going to be like weirded out that it's like this low on the list, but there's just so much. There's so much great Tom Cruise movies that some of them aren't going to make it into the top 10. Some of them are going to fall into the top 20, but that doesn't make them bad. I would say from here on out, every fucking movie is incredible and they're amazing, and it's really just down to your preference of what you look for in a Tom Cruise movie. I do love this one. This one really set us onto the stage where we were just fucking on a fucking upscale arc, and we're just still on that fucking upward trajectory of great Mission Impossible movies. J.J. Abrams was an inspired choice to come in and play around in this world, and he really fucking goes for it, and he gives us one of the greatest villains in the Mission Impossible franchise, gives us some great stunts. This is just such a fun movie. After that is probably one of Tom Cruise's best dramatic performances, and that's Born on the 4th of July. This is a really solid war movie where he's portraying a Vietnam War veteran and him acclimating to the world after the war. It is a fucking like insanely tough movie to watch at times. It is gut-wrenching, and he puts on such a good fucking performance. He's fucking incredible in it. It's so good. And then after that is the movie that gave Tom Cruise his Golden Globe, and that is Magnolia. This is another movie. I don't watch this movie very often. I've seen it maybe twice. It's a really good movie. It's just a very long movie. It's a very introspective movie. It is a very slow movie. Not a lot happens in this movie, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a really good thing sometimes. Not so much for me in this movie. I don't really turn back to this movie too much. I do think Tom Cruise's performance in this movie is fucking incredible. He's phenomenal in this movie. It's just such a fucking long exploration movie that it's just not one I want to revisit a lot. Like, if I'm looking for a Cruise movie, I'm never like, let's watch Magnolia tonight. But it is fantastic. And to anybody out there who loves Magnolia and would be like, I want a Cruise movie, let's go Magnolia, more power to you. But me, I like my Tom Cruise in his action settings. So naturally up next, Days of Thunder. This is a fucking great I think this is 90s, right? Yeah, this is 1990. This is right as he shifted into like, let's just do fucking crazy shit and do something different every time. And he's like, I'm gonna be a fucking Formula One racer. Is it Formula One or Daytona? Whatever it is, he's a race car driver. They're all fucking. It's all the same. You're a race car driving. This movie fucking. I think this is the first movie with him and Nicole Kidman in it together. Fucking such a good. This is just a fun movie, is what this is. And this was like the hint to where you could see like how much of a blockbuster star Tom Cruise was gonna be. And another 90s, this is him, ever switching it up. And he's like, Days of Thunder, we're gonna rock action shit. Like, now I wanna switch up and do a rom-com. We got Jerry Maguire. This is a fucking great movie. So quotable. This is the second of their collab, or this was the first collaboration that him and Cameron Crowe did, but it's the second Cameron Crowe, Tom Cruise collaboration to show up in this ranking. This movie, I love this movie. It's insanely quotable. It's just super entertaining, easily digestible. It's just one of those movies you could just pop on whenever, just have something in the background. It is just fucking so much fun. Cuba Gooding Jr. is great in it. Renee Zellweger, everybody just fires on all cylinders in this movie. After that is another phenomenal drama performance by Mr. Tom Cruise, and that is Rain Man. This is a really enjoyable movie. This is another one I haven't watched in a while. It's been a hot minute, so I need to get back in there and watch this movie. But the relationship between Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman is really great in this movie. Dustin Hoffman especially kills it in this movie. But I think Tom Cruise more than holds his own, because he's got to kind of play the straight man to him, where he's more the hard-edged older brother having to deal with, you know, finding a way to connect with this brother of his that he's learning of. So it's a tough performance to nail, and he knocks it out of the park. Both of them are just really freaking good in it, and it shows because the movie won Best Picture in 1988, right? Yeah, 1988. It's just a really good freaking movie, super entertaining, easily digestible. This is just when 80s and 90s is when drama movies were just fucking, it's just fucking amazing. After that, we have the movie that fucking started it all for Tom Cruise, and that is Risky Business. This movie is just fucking wild. I actually just watched it last week, and it holds up. It is freaking really good. What I was completely surprised about was how like dark this movie actually is. Like, it is a comedy, but it is so much darker and bleaker than I realized, with like its themes and what it's trying to explore in regards to like capitalism and these young like studs in life who has like their life set up for them, and in just this like rich affluent neighborhood. It's a really good freaking movie. Tom Cruise is great in it, especially starting out as such like a goody two shoes in the beginning, and then watching his arc as he slowly starts to grow into more of a, not so much like a terrible person, but he becomes more, it's a coming of age story where he's starting to learn more of the world in which he's going to inhabit and what kind of a person he's going to be in that world. It's really good. It's a really good freaking movie. After that is The Boys that need for speed. We hanging with the boys. It's Top Gun. Fucking love this steelbook. It's a fucking gorgeous steelbook. This is a super entertaining movie. This is, again, another classic 80s Tom Cruise movie where it's all machismo. There's so much cheese on it. It's super silly, but it's wildly entertaining. It's just such a great movie. It's a lot of fun. Kelly McGillis is great in it. Meg Ryan, the dude playing Goose, Val Kilmer, everybody in it. It just really came together to create one of the most 80s dude movies ever. It's so fucking good. So good. One of the most homoerotic movies I've ever seen in my life too, and that is Aces. It's so great when you watch it through the lens where you're thinking it's just like Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise are like in love with each other. The movie really takes off then. And then rounding out, just missing out on the top 10 at number 11 is the fucking political thriller, The Firm. This was really great Tom Cruise movie. There's another one in the 90s where he's just always trying something different. I saw this movie, I think, when I was in 11th grade. It was actually at a family just dinner that was going on with like family from Ohio that were visiting, and one of them, like, it was just somebody was just surfing the channel and The Firm was on. And I just sat there and watched it. And I was like, I don't want to talk to people. I'm going to watch this fucking Tom Cruise movie. And it's so good. It is freaking phenomenal. Him, Gene Hackman. It is just a really good political thriller. I love thrillers like this. They're just like, it's just super fun. And he really sells it. I think it's based on a Grisham book, right? Is it Grisham? It is based upon the book by John Grisham. Of course, if it's like some 90s political thriller that is based on a book, it was probably John Grisham. So, but that's great. But now we're rocking it into it. It's time. The top 10 Tom Cruise movies. Kicking off the top 10 is a movie that I saw in theaters 3 times when it came out. I fucking loved it that much. I saw it with my friends, I saw it once by myself, and I saw it with my cousins when they came to visit. And that is War of the Worlds. I freaking love this movie. I know like towards the second third of the movie, it kind of takes a little dip and like it gets a little too sentimental towards the end with like the son just happening to still have survived that fucking like crazy battle that he ran into. But nitpicks aside, I think this movie is fucking, it's really good. The tension that this movie builds in the first half of it is fucking so phenomenally well done. I think the opening with just him walking down in town trying to figure out what's going on, from the lightning storm to him going down to the aliens first attacking to him getting his kids together and just trying to get out of town, all the way up until they have to escape Tim Robbins' basement. I think that portion of the movie is just absolutely perfect. It's just so tense. It's so thrilling. It's a fucking roller coaster ride. And it is just one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies, especially because I think Tom Cruise plays it best when he's just playing like kind of a douchebag that has to learn like a life lesson to become like a better person. And in this one, he's learning how to become like a better parent. And like, he's just such a dick at the beginning of this movie, and just seeing that progression of him learning how to like take care of his kids in this one and like learning what's important in life is keeping them safe. It's a neat little arc. And I think he plays it best when he has to play like kind of a dick. Next up, number 9 is probably, I think, the only outright Tom Cruise villain movie. And it was a movie that showed us that this man should play a villain more often. And that is Collateral. This is this is probably the last good Michael Mann movie. This movie is fucking so good. Tom Cruise as a villain, chef's kiss, so good. Tom Cruise gets into a taxi cab driven by Jamie Foxx, tells him, "You're driving me around to all the hits I gotta make tonight, and I'm gonna give you a shitload of money." And it's just such a good interplay between the two of them as they go through this night. And Jamie Foxx, who is just an introverted, like not a go-getter, just constantly trying to come up with excuses, gets in way over his head and finally has to learn like how to be a fucking more assertive person as he goes up against Tom Cruise's Vincent. It is a great fucking movie. I love this movie. It's so fucking good. It's really fucking good. Dropping in at number 8 is Edge of Tomorrow. I will not call it Live, Die, Repeat. It is Edge of Tomorrow. I saw this movie twice in theaters. I fucking love this movie. There's another one where Tom Cruise just plays kind of like, in this one, he's not so much a dick as he is a coward, but I think the way that they portray him as a coward, especially in those opening scenes, it has him come off as a dick and very standoffish, and I think that plays well to his strengths, especially as you see his character progress throughout this movie, where he starts training with Emily Blunt and becomes more of a more sure of himself, a more like less cowardly person, person willing to put his life on the line for other people. It's a great character arc. This movie is such a great blend of science fiction and action. It is so great. I love the whole montage scene of him just consistently dying on the beach and getting better and better with each one is just so much fun. It's so thrilling. And it's got a fucking Bill Paxton in it. Like, come on. Obviously. Bill Paxton, baby. But up after that is the newest Top Gun movie. It is Top Gun Maverick, our latest Tom Cruise movie. Yes, this movie is that fucking good. It drops into the top 10, of course. Like, the first Top Gun is a super entertaining movie. I love it. But it's not the best movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's a movie, yeah, I can absolutely watch anytime, but it's always just one of those movies where it's like, man, that's just a fun movie. This one, while also being a super fun movie, is just an absolute perfectly well done movie. It has everything you want in a movie: action, suspense, heart, like warmth, just comedy, romance. It's an absolute roller coaster of a ride. It is fucking so good. It is oh man, it's just so good. It's easily so far probably the best movie I've ever seen. I've been going back and forth between Top Gun and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'm just like, oh my god, which one is the best from this year? It's hard to do, man. I can't figure it out. But Tom Cruise, man, he's the fucking man. Top Gun Maverick is one of the best movies to come out in the last like 5 years easily. And if you haven't seen it, get out to theaters now while you have a chance. See it in the best screen you can do it. See it in the Dolby Vision. Do whatever you can to see this movie. It is a movie that is the perfect theater going experience. If you want a reason to go back to the theater, if you want something that's going to be worth the bang for your buck, this is the movie for you. But we continue on. Now dropping in at number 6, Mission Impossible showing back up with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is a movie where Mission Impossible, this was the one where it just jumped into the next level. Like it was in the upper echelon now. It was like, we're going to do some fucking wild shit going on now. And you guys are going to love it. And we did. We loved it. Fucking, who would have thought, like when he's like, all right, who's going to make the next Mission Impossible? Oh, well, we got the guy who made Ratatouille. And they were just like, yeah, good one. And Tom Cruise was just like, I think you're onto something there. And god damn it, if their instincts didn't pay off, because Brad Bird constructed one hell of a fucking movie here. I think Jeremy Renner being introduced into this one is a hell of a genius idea. Paula Patton, everybody who's in this is just really good. Everything's firing on all cylinders. It is such a fun movie. And I think this is the movie where it finally took to the next level, where like Tom Cruise was like, I'm gonna just do fucking crazy stunts right now, and I'm gonna use these movies to get to do all the crazy fucking shit I've always wanted to do in my life. And God bless you, Tom. Never stop doing that shit, because climbing the Burj Khalifa Tower, or Khalifa, I don't remember how it's pronounced, but it's fucking one of the most insane stunts of all time. Like it's insane. Like it still gives me chills, like douche chills watching it, because I'm just so uncomfortable knowing that he was actually out there doing it. It makes me, I'm just like, oh my god, it's insane. He's a fucking legend, absolute fucking legend. Dropping in at number 5 is another great Tom Cruise dramatic performance, and that's A Few Good Men. This movie is so great. 90s courtroom drama, baby. Courtroom dramas are just, I love those movies. It's like one of my favorite niche genres. Like, I just love a good courtroom drama. And it helps that when you got Aaron Sorkin writing it, Rob Reiner directing it, you've got a fucking all-star cast of characters. Not only do you have Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, but you got like Kiefer Sutherland is in it. Who else? So Kevin Pollak is in it. Kevin Bacon is in it. There is a star-studded cast in this movie, and they help make it one of the best courtroom dramas ever made. There's a scene in it. Everyone always goes to the scene where it's like that you can't handle the truth. But even earlier than that is a scene where they feel like they lost, like they're dejected, like they're not going to win. And Tom Cruise comes back to the apartment with everybody, and he's hammered drunk, and he goes on this fucking just bangarang scene where just the fucking energy he puts out is just so good. It's like one of the best scenes I've ever seen him do. I fucking love it. I think he's phenomenal in this movie. It's just so good. If you haven't seen A Few Good Men, you need to go out and check that movie out. Dropping us into number 4, we are once again dropping into the Mission Impossible franchise, and it is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This movie is, my god, so good. This is another movie. I saw this in theaters 3 times. I was fucking blown away by this movie. I saw it once by myself, and then once with one of my best buddies, and then he loved it so much that he was like, I need to see that again, and I was like, I will go see that with you again. It's so good. It's like, this movie is just the perfect action adventure movie. I think it is just so much fun. It's it introduced us to Rebecca Ferguson. Like, oh, like, thank you, Mission Impossible, because she is the fucking goddess. She is such a good actress. I fucking love her in everything. She is amazing in this movie. It's just a fucking great movie. The stunts in this movie are insane. The fucking length that Tom Cruise can hold his breath is a fucking insanity. The man is a fucking legend. But all right, we're doing it. We're now into the top 3. Into the top 3. And we got, coming in on the bronze, Minority Report. This is the second Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise collaboration to show up in our ranking, but the first that they did overall together working. And it is a match made in heaven. Steven Spielberg behind the camera, Tom Cruise in front of the camera, sci-fi, epic adventure movie. Of course, like absolutely, of course, this is going to be amazing. And it is. Tom Cruise playing a guy who works for the police precinct, where they use something called precogs, where they can find out a crime before you committed it and arrested you before you committed it. And he goes onto the run when it turns out that one of the precogs has a vision of him committing murder. It's a fucking wild premise. It's a fucking great science fiction movie. It has some great action in it, some really good intense scenes in it. Spielberg shoots the fucking hell out of this movie. He is just fucking, he was on fire in the 2000s. And this is just one of his best movies. For a man who's had such a fucking insane career as Spielberg has and Tom Cruise has, the fact that they put out a fucking gem like this, that at that stage in their career, is just fucking incredible. Taking the Silver is a fucking movie that I fucking love. I didn't see it until late in the game. And when I finally did see it, I made sure to watch it as much as I could to catch up for all the years that I missed out on it. And that is The Last Samurai. I think this is a fucking phenomenally well done movie. I think it's just so insanely good. I just fucking love it. Tom Cruise playing a Civil War hero that just like hates himself for what he had to do in the Civil War, and with killing Indians and stuff. He's just dejected, and they send him out to train Japanese soldiers to fight against like these samurais that are like just refusing to give up, as like China or Japan. Are we in Japan? I don't know. Yeah, it's Japan. I'm sorry. It's Japan. As Japan is moving on into its next stage of life, and samurai are kind of being pushed out of the way in the same kind of way that Indians were being pushed out of the way as the manifest destiny of expansion in the U.S. was going along. It's a neat little parable that brings in, so Tom Cruise is there to help them. He ends up becoming a prisoner of Ken Watanabe's samurai group, and he learns about them, and he gets kind of like reinvigorated in his life and finds purpose in his life once again in seeing the code of these men and what they're willing to lay their life on the line for. It is just a beautiful fucking movie. I fucking love it. It's so good. Tom Cruise is fantastic in it. Ken Watanabe is fantastic in it. My man Hiroyuki Sanada's in it. Like, it's just a fucking bangerang movie right there. So good. But there can only be one that takes the gold. And I think at this point, everybody knows what it's going to be. And it is Tom Cruise's latest Mission Impossible movie, Mission Impossible Fallout. This is the perfect Tom Cruise movie. It has everything you look for in a Tom Cruise movie. Just action, fucking adventure. It's thrilling. It's balls to the walls. It's crazy. He's doing some of the most insane stunt work you've ever seen in your life. It's got a great fucking soundtrack. It's got a great villain, Henry Cavill. Everything in this movie is firing on all cylinders. It's got Rebecca Ferguson back again. Like, this movie is just insane. I saw this movie twice in theaters. I should have seen it more because it's just so fucking good, and it's one of those movies that should be seen on the biggest screen as many times as it can. I cannot wait for the next Mission Impossible one's Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer dropped about like a week ago, and it looks like it's going to be one hell of a fucking movie. And that in Part 2, I'm sure, will be a fucking incredible send-off to the Mission Impossible franchise. And if they decide to keep doing more after that with Tom Cruise, I'm totally cool with that. If this ends up being the fucking end to Mission Impossible for him, I'm cool with that too. I trust this man with whatever he is deciding to do with that franchise. But that's the list. Tom Cruise, what a fucking career, man. This has just been, you've got everything in there. You've got your sci-fi action. You've got your rom-coms. You've got your dramas. You've got just like classic 80s movies, action, adventure. This man does it all. He does it. He just fucking does it all. It'd be interesting this late in the career to see if he could do a horror movie. We've never seen him do a horror movie. I wonder if there's any crazy kind of stunt shit he can do with that. I doubt we'll ever see him do a horror movie. That's wildly out there. I feel at this point he has reached his point where he knows the bread and butter that people are there for. This man's doing crazy action. He's gonna give you a fucking roller coaster ride of a movie. He is one of the last biggest movie stars in the world. This man is an absolute treasure. Doesn't matter what you think about him personally. I don't care. You're not hanging out with him. You're not his friend. You're going to see a movie. And when it comes to putting asses in the seat and giving you your bang for your buck, there is no one better than Tom fucking Cruise. But that'll do it for all of us here at the Outpost. I'm about to go put on a fucking Tom Cruise movie and relax right now, because why the fuck not? We've been talking Tom Cruise. Everything looks great here. I'm going to go watch myself some Last Samurai, and you should do yourselves the same if you haven't seen it. But until the next adventure, you have been you, I have been me. Get your ass out there and go watch some Last Samurai. And until next time, adventure.